Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Tim Lankford, and I welcome you to our Tuesday webinar. You know you can connect with us every Tuesday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, and we're going to go over products. We talk about the mortgage protection world. However, when I say mortgage protection, you know I'm talking about simplified issue business. So it's much more beyond mortgage protection. I have to tell you, though, I've got plans for you. I've got plans to prosper you. I've got plans to never harm you. My plans include laying out a future for you, and more important than probably to people today, what they're looking for is a hope. You and I, if you're with me in this business, building insurance or selling insurance, but building up people, you've got to know how important that word hope is. I think we're in the most impactful, or at least a business that has the greatest impact and the quickest impact on the lives that we touch. Of course, I'm not just saying that from my own heart, which I do mean that from my own heart, but if you go to Jeremiah chapter 29, verse 11, you'll find it right there. That's a much higher power than you or I, and you can read right there where it's saying that his plans for you and me are to prosper us. The theme that I'd like you to think about for today is getting paid for our effort. Sounds kind of simple, but it is, how would I say it, other than why go out and pretend? You're frustrating the client when they don't get approved, and probably the highest frustration and immediate feeling will be towards you and me when that policy comes back either declined or rated. If you will follow some very simple steps, and I'm holding this notebook for a very important reason, but if you're a follower, you know how important the Bible is to us. This is your Bible as an insurance person, as a mortgage protection specialist, as a federal employee, benefit consultant. This is your guidebook. Without this, you and I are almost useless. Useless in the fact that when you go out and you sit with somebody and they have a wonderful desire to get protection either on themselves or their family or on themselves so they don't leave a debt behind for others to have to clean up the mess. They have a wonderful desire when you and I are sitting with that person. If you go out ill-informed or ill-equipped, again, the frustration is going to be had on both sides. The easiest and quickest way to remedy that is to understand what these pages mean. To be able to have them so ingrained with you, I refer very, very infrequently to these pages anymore. I've been doing this business specifically on the mortgage protection side for about 7 years. In reference to just talking about my personal business, and most of you know that I'm still out there writing business. I submitted 3 applications yesterday for Phoenix. Those 3 applications went in around 11 a.m. My staff put them in at 11 a.m. By 4 o'clock, I had 3 approvals. 3 emails back from Phoenix that said, congratulations, this is placed and will be issued. Guys, a 6-hour turnaround. I will see that deposit on Wednesday. So tomorrow, I'll see a deposit from Phoenix for the applications that were submitted yesterday morning. Key reason why, 2 key reasons. The type of application they were, and I knew the client's background enough to know that they were going, at least to have none of us can be a complete surety on somebody getting approved. They may have forgotten about an illness. So if all the information is laid out on the table with us, then absolutely, we can know for a fact whether that person is going to be approved or not, unless their medical information or their prescriptions have been goofed up. Pretty good turnaround. That's the type of turnaround I would like to see for you. In order to get paid for our effort, in order to get our business placed, approved, and placed, I want to have one key question that I'm begging, imploring you to implement in every person that you sit with. This one key question will turn around your business dramatically. 3 words even, to keep it even that more simple and to the point. Simply are, have you ever? If you will implement that when you're sitting with, I do that routinely. And it doesn't always have to be, here's my 60 questions that I've got to ask you, but I will, throughout the presentation, that I'm sitting with this prospective client, with a person who's asking me to protect them. When I'm sitting with them, kind of throughout the conversation, we'll start talking about issues in their health history. Key questions, absolute key to your getting the business placed in this arena. Very, very key questions. I'm going to talk about, have you ever had any hospitalizations? Have you ever had any surgeries? And it starts to get kind of laborious if you're sitting with a 70-year-old. I understand, but take your time. If you have taken the time to call a client, to set up time, to drive there, the worst thing you can do is to rush through this process. The absolute worst thing for you to do. So key in hospitalizations, surgeries, alcohol, criminal. Remember, I've got to bring it up with this gal was probably every bit of 75, 78 years old. It's been a few years now, but oftentimes we start to go through the motions too much, and it gets, you have to have some humor to do this business. Sitting down with this sweet, just it seems like driven as wide as the snow is. That's what I thought this gal was sitting in front of me. So I kind of made a little snark comment about, and I did ask her about, so your criminal history is probably, you're riddled with all sorts of prison terms and everything in your background, right? And I smiled and I started to move on. And when somebody clears your throat, I knew I was in a little bit of trouble. So sure enough, I went, you know, Joan, we'll use her name, I don't remember it. I just remember the situation. And we all had stones that we all live in glass houses, and we're afraid of those stones being thrown at us. I'm not interested in having a stone thrown at us, but you gave me the impression that you had a little bit of skirmish in your criminal past. She had killed her sister, guys. She had killed her sister. And it would happen a long time ago, but she had done almost like 40 years in prison. So, be cautious on how you go about asking the questions. Do them a little bit deadpan. I have one agent that likes to talk about, so are you a bomb maker? Are you, you probably have you killed anyone? Try not to go down that road because they may have had some skirmishes, what we'll call them skirmishes, chinks in their armor. So do it in a very professional manner, but make sure you get those questions out there. Again, it is useless for us to sit down, and I'm spending every bit of 30 to 45 minutes with a client, unless when I get down to my A question, you remember on my in-home form, the A question, and they are absolutely saying, we're not going to do anything today, we're not signing anything. If I feel confident that, you know, it's just more practice for me, you nor I need to practice. So I want you to key in on that A line, and if you can't do the upfront close in my 6 steps to close, then move on. You're in that home for 15, tops 20 minutes, and it's time to move on. Saying that, make sure that, you know, you get that soft close. We'll call it a soft close there. I don't need to have them say, yes, I'm going to sign today, but I do need to know that I am sitting with somebody who has every intention of getting their home protected, of getting their life protected, of protecting their funeral. cost to be passed on to their children. I need to know that right there, or I'm not going on. Don't waste your time. If you're brand new in this business, maybe the first couple you want to practice with, but let it stop after that. Don't get in a bad habit of going through 45 minutes to an hour in a home, and you knew 15 minutes in, you weren't going to close it. Have you ever smoked? Ever, we want to know, have you ever smoked? All these things will make a difference. If you go to the carrier and just like on Phoenix regular term, they will find out if they have smoked. So a lot of folks I know kind of what we call white sheet in the business, and oh, how are they going to know if I ever smoked or not? Slow down there, because you're doing not only something illegal there that you can lose your license, but you're also doing something tremendous. You're doing a tremendous disservice to that client. If you are white sheeting it, or just kind of, oh yeah, you're okay. I don't see any ashtrays, and they're saying, yeah, we've never smoked, and they're kind of smiling at each other. Then take it seriously, and it is better to get them less coverage, but get them real coverage, than it is to push this through. And 6 months later, when that wife is counting on that policy you wrote on her husband, but you kind of pushed through the fact that he's a smoker and wrote non-smoker because they didn't like how high the premium was for a smoker status, folks, what you just did there is open up all sorts of criminal study. You have lied on the application. You've been implicitly involved with helping that client lie on the application. Remember, there's a 2-year contestability with everything that we write. For the first 2 years, even though they are approved, any carrier can come back and say, wait a minute, he died of cancer? What kind of cancer? So they have that 2-year period after the policy has been issued that they can come back and scrutinize the cause of death. And if they find out that that person was a smoker any time in their history, especially within 12 months of you writing that policy, the only thing that widow who's counting on the $100,000 you promised her when you wrote that application, the only thing that widow will receive from the insurance company will be premiums paid into it. That's it, guys. So 6 months, say that you went from, goodness, that was a $90 policy, but I got them for $35. So she's going to get 6 months at $35. She's going to get, what, about $200 when she should be getting $100,000. Enough said. Understand, make sure that you're asking, have you ever? And with most carriers, it's within 12 months, some 24 months, in order to be able to qualify as a non-smoker. Guess where I know that from? I know that from my underwriting guides. Have you ever had any medications go for 5 years? Have you ever had any medications for 5 years? That's ever so important when you find out about cancer. Right in my underwriting guide and I've got the leading carriers that I use. I've got my Phoenix, I've got my Mutual Omaha, I've got my Foresters, I've got my American Amicable, and I'll talk about Gerber, but you don't need a whole lot for Gerber. But those are the ones that you want to have right in your field underwriting guide. You need this Bible to follow. You are a servant of this, and you don't want to fall outside the lines that are written in these guides. Have you ever had any medications in the last 5 years that'll open up issues of if they're on a blood thinner? Most carriers will tuck their tail and run whenever we mention the word blood thinner. You've got your Xarelto, you've got your Warfarin, you've got your Coumadin, Eliquis. You've got several that no longer sound like the traditional Coumadin. So make sure you know your drug list. Underwriting guide, guys. So with most carriers, an immediate decline. Realize on a few of them, they'll be open to blood thinner for a certain reason. Or most carriers will be forever. If they've ever had blood thinner, you're done. But now Phoenix will come back 2 years after even a pulmonary embolism. So a blood clot that went into the lungs. Every other carrier simplified issue will literally run away and hide. But if you go over to your underwriting guide with Phoenix, and it will say, it'll list right there, pulmonary embolism. I can find what page it's on for you. So if you go to page 14 with your guide to impairments, page 14 will talk about a pulmonary embolism. Pulmonary embolisms will be accepted not with the express, but on the regular term. And we'll talk about the difference here in just a minute. After we finish, have you ever? Another key point to the have you ever, you want to take your time, and when you're asking these things, even if it's a 20-year-old, guys, have you ever had cancer, Joan? Give it, you know, just a pause. Just a quick pause. Have you ever, even though, you know, she may giggle about it, but take your time. Have you ever had cancer? How about a stroke? And you might even, you know, put in a little bit, you know, I know some teenagers regrettably have had a stroke. Have you ever had a stroke, Joan? Keep it very sincere, but keep it real, because this will help you get your business placed and issued. Stroke, a big concern, and your clients may call it just heart issues or a heart event. Guys, if you ever hear anything with the word heart and they follow with any way to describe that heart event, understand that most likely they will be declined. You can just take it to the bank. If we're talking about simplified issue term. We're talking about, beginning with, I talked about mortgage protection. 95% of my mortgage protection is simplified issue term. So that's what I'm talking about here. I apologize if I did not make that very clear, because it's a different set of standards when we're talking about final expense. With final expense, if they've not had any heart issues in the last 2 years, especially in the last 4 years, we can go over with traditional whole life. Not so in the simplified issue term. Foresters, pretty much never. Mutual Omaha, all, never. American Amicable, never. Phoenix, you can go to your underwriting guide, look underneath heart. Talks about a heart murmur. Everyone else will be saying no, and it's not. This is not stomp on Phoenix saying, yay, raw. Look at Phoenix. They're just going to be right now the friendliest in underwriting for our clients. The 3 Phoenix apps that I put in 3 Fed apps this last, since Friday night also. So far, numbers that I'm going to be including for myself on Friday, every Friday. If you've not heard, we do a conference call. This week, you got to check in with Jennifer Green out in Montana. I love Jennifer. She's going to be talking about her in-home appointment. But Friday at 11 a.m., my name will be up there for, I've got so far going this week about $14,000 in annualized premium. 3 of them is already issued and placed. The other 3 are foresters on the Fed side. So when I share with you, I'm sharing with you that I'm a soldier out there in the field with you. I'm out there hip to hip, shoulder to shoulder with you, but I want to get paid for what effort I put in. So when I'm sharing this, understand I'm sharing this from my heart. I'm not sharing it just because of book knowledge, but because I've been in the trenches with you, and right now still in the trenches, making sure as I'm writing the application, and oh, I hate it, we've been there, we've all been there, and when I'm 2/3 through the application and I've missed something, the last time was, I'm 2/3 through the application, and I remember John very well, and his wife's name was Pepe, and 2/3 through a Phoenix application, and he brings it up to me because I wasn't doing my real good, have you ever, ever. I filled out the application, I got everything 2/3 of the way through, and he said, you've not really said anything about kidneys. Ever get that feeling that your heart just sank into your stomach? And I went, I apologize, John. So kidneys are very important in being able to qualify for this product. Tell me what's going on with your kidneys. And again, some of the worst words that we can hear talking about simplified issue business was, I had a kidney transplant. Needless to say, we didn't do anything with Phoenix that day. Have you ever had diabetes? One of the friendliest carriers to the diabetic happens to be Phoenix. I had a 40-year-old, early on when I started writing Phoenix about a year ago, I got a 40-something-year-old woman who said that she had no interest in being able to get, because she's in the decline at work before, wherever she was working at, they were asking for a brief medical history. She was insulin dependent. I got a 42-year-old, insulin dependent, $100,000 of life insurance for 20 years for $39 a month, guys. Know your underwriting guide. The next crucial step in making sure to get paid for your effort is your height and weight chart. If you stay within the guide, and they are so liberal, guys. Let's check this out. For somebody who's 5'9", somebody who's going to be 5'9", fairly healthy, should be in somewhere like the, speaking of male, but somewhat, this 5'9" should be less than 200 pounds, right? All of us are some of us, most of us, are carrying some extra pounds that we don't need. But when you go 5'9", okay, let's go over 200. 5'9", let's go mid-200s. Let's go 5'9", 250 pounds. So about 30 pounds heavier than this frame. I'm 6'1". I don't need to be at 250. So we're going 3 inches smaller, and we're talking about 250. That's no problem with Phoenix and Foresters, Mutual Omaha, American Amicable. Well, 5'9", you can go up to 321 pounds. There's no need to fudge on the weight, guys. If they're over 321 pounds, find a different product. Find a product that will be guaranteed issue. We'll be talking that here in a few minutes. But know your weight chart. And guess what? You might get it pushed through with Phoenix Express. They really don't check on the weight side of things, but you go regular term with just about any other carrier, and they're going to find that out quicker than what you can absolutely realize. Then going right into, and here they are. I mean, we've got everything that talks about alcohol, talks about aneurysm, talks about anxiety. Now all of these are acceptable with most carriers. Aneurysm, no, but it's modified, and you can read right here for Phoenix at least, as well as Foresters Mutual Omaha, American Amicable will be declined or considered with underwriting. With Phoenix, you've got term and you've got express. On the express, let me say this. If you're not writing express with Phoenix, if you're going to the Phoenix, reconsider. Yes, it will be more expensive, but you will get, I'll say, some of the least healthy clients approved through your Phoenix Express than through any other carrier. Especially if you're less than 50, the express to regular term is nominal in difference. The biggest difference is the express is on a table 6 chassis. So in underwriting, whereas most of the carriers in the simplified issue world, they're on what they call a table 4 chassis. Their chassis for a platform where they determine their risk level, their risk tolerance, is considered a table 4. When you go over to Phoenix term, so non-express, their chassis, their platform is on a fully underwritten, no table rating standard. So know the big difference. So as if you were taking a person and sending the nurse out, doing the blood work, doing the urine work, doing a lot of times an attending physician statement, an APS, that's going to be on what would be considered Phoenix regular term, except they do it without the nurse. They simply go to the Medical Information Bureau and the drug prescription list, and they determine from there, without a nurse, whether your client qualifies for that Phoenix term. And that pricing traditionally, with the other three wonderful carriers that we really focused in on mortgage protection, Phoenix, Foresters, Mutual Omaha, and American Amicable, Phoenix will be approximately 20% less than the other three, hands down, with better underwriting, or at least more client-friendly. Even though they're on that standard fully underwritten, they are still friendly with diabetes. They are still friendly with cancer. American Amicable is the closest one. They will go 7 years. Mutual Omaha and Foresters, before they will go simplified issue on a client who's had cancer, has to be at least 10 years. Phoenix is 5 years. As long as they've not been treated or diagnosed with cancer within the last 5 years, they get approved. Even on the diabetes, right here in your underwriting guide, I digressed a little bit, but AFib, autism, these are all approved through Phoenix. Cancer, a pacemaker, find out details, and the first column talks about the details for the Phoenix regular term. The second column will tell you decline, and a lot of times when it talks about COPD, that is an approved status. You go over to the Express, and if they're on steroids or if they're on oxygen, of course, that's an immediate decline, Express. But look at how it's modified for regular term. Know your underwriting guide. You see the diabetes there. Even epilepsy can be approved through Phoenix. Fibromyalgia can be approved. High blood pressure. With high blood pressure, as long as they are not on more than 3 medications, you can go Phoenix Express. If they're on more than 3 medications, they will have to go regular term. Now understand the difference between the Express and the regular term when it comes to the attending physician statement. If you write an Express and they need an attending physician statement, that will be a decline on the Express. However, if you, and understand, all of these carriers, they are wonderfully friendly on the phone to talk to you when you call and say, hey, I've got a little bit of a risk assessment. Could you help me with this one? And they will literally just go to the underwriting guide and say, sure, let's talk through it. That's what I love about our simplified issue carriers. On the Phoenix, if they've been declined Express, so you've got somebody that you put an Express application on, but they were declined, you can still come back and write a Phoenix regular term. Isn't that crazy? You can come back on that same client because, you go back to them, you sit down with them, don't ever tell them to decline over the phone. Salvage that client on something. You've got a wonderful Mutual Omaha, no matter what kind of history of health or, for that matter, vehicle problems. Remember, they also run on the regular term. They don't on the Express, but on the regular term, they'll run a BMV, a Bureau of Motor Vehicle report, as most of the other carriers do too. If you go over with Phoenix, and they are requiring an attending physician statement, go back, sit down with them and say, hey, something's going on. I know you told me everything was good here, good here, good here. The good news is I can write an application on you. I can take another questionnaire. You know how I am about applications. I sit down with my clients and I go over questionnaires with them. I can take another questionnaire. We might even be able to save you some money, but they're going to need to verify because they may have goofed up the records and pulled up records on somebody else. Find a professional, soft, easy way to get back into that home. Don't ever tell them that they're declined over the phone. Sit down with them, go over the details with them in person. And the worst case scenario is that we can go to Mutual Omaha and say, until you get a little bit healthier here, or as healthy as you are, since they told you that they're healthy, even though they may have, had 3 heart attacks. Oh, I'm doing great now. Well, as healthy as you are now, Mr. Client, if you're going to die, you're probably going to die of an accident. Is that what you're telling me? Oh, yeah, that's what I'm telling you. Well, okay, let's get that covered. So you lead them. Remember, you're the lead in this presentation. You lead them with the probing questions. So since you are so healthy, since you have told me you're probably going to lead them to your ultimate place where you need them to land, now that's a real easy place to say, we can get, what can you get up to, $500,000 on a 70-year-old for an accidental policy. They have to die of an accident, but that's guaranteed issue. Speaking of guaranteed issue, enough on the underwriting. I think I've laid the groundwork enough to say you're not going in with your understanding, with your underwriting guide. You're going in ill-equipped. And shame on me if I have not emphasized that enough. You've got to go in understanding what you have in front of you, what type of product that we are promoting here. It's crucial that you go in being well trained, and you can train yourself for this. You do not need someone to explain an underwriting guide. Open it up, and it will be that simple for you. Know your products. I've always preached, and you've heard me say on multiple calls, if we can go in with 80% heart knowledge, we need about 20% head knowledge to do this business. 80% of this is based on how you connect with other people. 80% of this business is you connecting with that person that you're sitting across the table or in their living room or at the picnic table with them. 20% has to be in this book and understanding the product, not the opposite. You go in with head knowledge. We have some people getting started both in mortgage protection as well as in final expense and now in the federal program. We've been studying, it seems like, for about the last 4 weeks. And it's just like, I'm almost there, I'm almost there, I'm almost there. They're trying to do the opposite of what I just shared. They're trying to do 20%. I'm already good with people. I've got to do my 80% over here with the head. And that's just the absolute opposite of where I want you to go. I want you to go in understanding the product, but don't go in trying to be an expert with everything from Phoenix. They've got a universal life, they've got annuities, they have the express, they have the regular term. Go in understanding the term. Same thing with Mutual Omaha. We talk about a gaggle worth of products. Same thing with Foresters, same thing with American Amicable. You need to know one product. If your product is Mutual Omaha, then learn the simplified issue term, learn the final expense. If yours is Foresters, same thing. Phoenix, same thing. American Amicable. The backup to that, all we need you to know about the Mutual Omaha accidental is everyone 7 years and younger can qualify. And the same thing with Gerber or Great Western. They are the two go-to products that we use for guaranteed issue. So you're sitting with somebody who is 50 years and older, and they've had cancer, they've had, also understand the underwriting guide, they kind of get check marks. If they've had the AFib and they still qualify, but that's a check mark there. Now if you go down and they have diabetes, on regular term, 2 check marks will be the most that they can have, and the severity of those check marks. So even though they qualify, oh yeah, they're good with the AFib, they're good with COPD, they're good with diabetes, you've just been declined. So understand that multiple risks also will go into a decline process. With Gerber, that's not the case. If they are alive, Gerber will accept them. Age 50 years up to age the day before they turn 81, you can write the minimum amount, the maximum on somebody who's older. You'll go between $10,000 and $50,000, $5,000 and $50,000. Contact Alicia in my office. ELISHA@gordonmarketing.com. She will be able to send you over a rate chart and applications for your state. With Columbian Financial Group, also, they will go down to age 25. Higher premiums, even when you have a 50-year-old, you're going to go to Gerber before you go to CFG, mainly because CFG is going to be a 3-year wait, Gerber is going to be a 2-year wait. So CFG, though, will go down to age 25, guaranteed issue. Folks, I hope this has been a somewhat helpful, beneficial. I appreciate you guys so much. Needless to say, I'm not at my computer screen answering any questions. So if you want to shoot me over some questions, I'm Tim at GordonMarketing.com, and I look forward to seeing your name pop up on our board on our Friday call, 11 a.m. Make sure you go out and you be an agent who's making it happen, because Friday, that's our call, an agent who's making it happen. So you make it happen for your income, number one. Straight up. I'm not going to do this business if I didn't get paid, guys. I'm still in my earning years. I need to be paid. So I'm going to do this business. Number one, I'm going to make it happen for my income. Number two, I'm going to make it happen for my family. When I say that, I mean the house that we're in, the cars that we drive, the schools that my children go to. I'm going to do the absolute best to make it happen so I protect them the best that I can. Number three, make the first two happen. So if you will do number three, it will always cause number one and number two to happen. If you become an agent who makes it happen for that family in the field, so you forget about your income. In essence, you forget about your family. You forget about being the number one tither. I want to become the number one tither in my church. I can do that by affecting my income. Forget about all that. You take care of that family in the field. Number one, number two, always will fall into place. God bless you. Have a wonderful week.